Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me again. Today we're doing another dragging video. Let's get straight into it. We're at the Louis Vuitton boutique in one of the Louis Vuitton boutiques in Hawaii in the USA. Hi to everyone in Hawaii. So many of you always tell me you're from Hawaii and you're always so nice in comments and stuff. So here we go, but unfortunately LB's getting dragged, honey. Here we go. My son went to this location to look up, actually I'll write the name of the location on the screen because I think there are a few Louis Vuittons. I'm trying to remember which one this is because I've screenshotted the reviews. My son went to this location to look for a birthday gift while I was finishing up at Cartier next door. He was wearing his LV crossbody and summer wear as we're in Hawaii. The door concierge snubbly let him inside and security followed him like he was a criminal. Then they finally assigned him a rookie CA. She was reluctant as well to help him. He found something he liked. He said he'd be right back as his mum and grandmother were in Cartier finishing up their purchases. We then returned to the store to have the SA decide to help him, and his grandmother looked at a few items and made a decision. I then followed them in a few minutes later, only to have all of the CAs following me around because I was carrying a capucine and wearing Louis Vuitton shoes. Wow, talk about profiling. The reluctant CA ended up making a sale and left the door. And as we left, the snobby door concierge blushed, especially after the look my son gave him. I then followed them in a few minutes later to have all of these CAs following me around because I was carrying a capucine and wearing Louis Vuitton shoes. Talk about profiling. The reluctant CA ended up making a sale and we left the snobby door concierge. And as we left, the snobby door concierge blushed. Don't judge people by their appearances. You don't know and you're not always right. There's more to a book than the front and back cover. This is absolutely true. Okay, so a few things about this story. Anytime I do a dragging video, honey, there are always people fighting me in comments saying, oh, that's not true, that's not true. I had a great experience and I literally walked in naked. There's always someone making something weird and saying like a weird comment like that. But I have literally said so many times, like, you just get much better treatment if you look really nice when you go into luxury boutiques. They saw a young teenager, I think a teenager, he sounds like he's a teenager, and they saw a young teenager. It's not about whether he's a man or a woman. I think they probably would have done the same to a teenage girl, for example. So they saw him come in, and they were like, oh, you know, does this person have a credit card, honey? Like, are they gonna buy something? Like, are you buying something? Yes or no? Okay. And they probably looked at him like, oh God, you know? And I can sympathize in some way. I've had sales jobs before. If you have worked a real sales job, you know how the CAs feel because it's like they have targets and commission. A lot of people who have never worked a sales job don't understand how commissions work. I understand how they work. So the person's thinking, the new SA is thinking, oh God, am I gonna make any money off this person? He did say, oh, my mom's coming, my grandmother's coming, they're on their way. But many people say stuff like that and people don't come. Like particularly in luxury boutiques, people lie to CAs all the time and SAs like, oh, I'll be back later to buy it. I'll come back later. I remember like at Galeries Lafayette once, I was picking up something and I told the CA like, oh, I'm coming back. And then she was like, yeah, everyone says that. I actually really did go back. I was buying something. And she said, wow, you came back. Everyone just says that but never comes back. So it's possible that the young man, like they just thought, okay, he's just lying, and obviously they thought he was lying because they obviously ignored him and gave him, the third degree. I'm not saying it's right that they gave him the third degree, but I understand why this happens. What I found absolutely fascinating about this dragging review is the fact that she walks in with the capucine. Now, I've chatted to a bunch of you privately about this bag. The capucine, I feel like, is a silent assassin And I think the Capucine says a lot about you as a baller slash big spender, even more so than a Birkin, Kelly or Constance. The price point of the Capucine in their leathers, forget the exotic ones, even just in the Torillon, is very expensive. Even if you compare it to other brands like Dior or Fendi or Big Gucci, it's pricey. Okay, the Capucine is a statement. They saw her walk in with Louis Vuitton's flagship bag. The Capucine is going to celebrate 10 years next year. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Capucine. It is the flagship handbag of the Louis Vuitton house. They are doing everything in their power to promote it. And in walks his mom, and she's carrying a Capucine. Let me stop you right there, okay? They were like, oh my God, his mom really did come in. We're in trouble, okay? So I feel bad for them, because I don't feel like they meant to hurt the young man's feelings, and they saw her Capucine and they're like, oh, she's gonna buy stuff? And she did. So you live and you learn. So what did you guys think of that dragging story, that review? Honestly, I think that it's quite common to have like occurrences like that where the person just ends up getting ignored. But I mean, I think that the son being ignored does not surprise me. I feel like I know you're gonna be like, they shouldn't judge anyone. I mean, a young teenager coming into the store, maybe they just think he was browsing, he wasn't seriously going to buy anything. Oh, my mom's coming. They're probably like, yeah, right, your mom's coming. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, but it's just the fact that they saw her Capucine and then all of a sudden, like, everything changed the moment they saw her Capucine. This is the same boutique in Hawaii from Louis Vuitton. Another review says, the store has nice inventory, but the customer service is horrible. We've been to a lot of Louis Vuitton boutiques around the world. This is the worst. The SA followed us around and threw a tantrum and ignored us as soon as we told her we didn't need to buy anything from the new collection. Such a contrast compared to the Celine boutique. Well, I mean, look, again, I'm sorry, but people like this are the people who I don't actually personally understand, because if you think about it, I mean, if you think about it, like, you have decided to go there to maybe look around and maybe buy something. I think if you tell an SA like, hey, you know, I don't have any plans to pick up any items, of course they're going to be really annoyed with you, and they're going to be like, okay, I don't want to deal with this person because they're not going to buy anything. I mean, I don't really blame the SA for getting annoyed, because they're spending time and effort trying to help you, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to buy anything from the new collection, I'm not going to buy anything. Well, why are you in the shop then if you're not going to buy anything? Guys, come on now, let's stop this nonsense. I think I can see why it's annoying, honestly. The next review is also from Louis Vuitton, Hawaii, and the person says, I'm a returning customer to this location. I was shocked by the service I received when I went in on Memorial Day. I went to look for a new wallet for myself. I was assisted by the CA. I showed her the one I wanted. She advised me the style was last year. She then was very condescending, being rude and sassy to me, telling me whatever is in the showcase is what they have, and being pushy, asking me if I wanted to buy one. Then if I wanted to buy one when the designs didn't catch my attention, I didn't expect this at a high-end store, and hope others don't have to go through what I went through. End up not buying anything since there wasn't anything I liked. Upon walking out the store, I did tell the hostess about the lady she introduced me, but I didn't want to involve a manager since I wasn't buying anything. Well, okay, a few things. First of all, we talked about this in my previous video. One of the biggest faux pas and like one of the luxury sins and luxury faux pas, do not ever show a CA or SA of a boutique that you are not familiar with, who is not your SA, something from your phone. Generally speaking, I found that they're actually they just don't like it. They really don't like it, and it really annoys them. I know that here in the review he says he's a client of the location, but it doesn't sound like he has an SA there. Or in Louis Vuitton they call them CAs, but it doesn't sound like he has an SA there. So, you know, we've chatted about this in my previous video, and I know sometimes it can be so repetitive, I say the same thing all the time, but, you know, I think we all kind of need to get on the same page here. You know, he's a returning client, but doesn't have a CA. It's a bit strange that he's returning and no one recognizes him. That's a bit weird. So maybe he's like a returning tourist client. I don't know. I'm not saying that the client deserves to be treated badly. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is the moment you show something on your phone, they just think that you're not serious at all. If you are a tourist shopping at that location, because some of you are going to be like, well, I show my essay things on my phone all the time. Well, that's not the same. That's not what we're talking about here. Even though this reviewer says that he's a returning client of that location, it's possible that maybe he's a returning tourist, or he doesn't have a CA, but he goes and shops there a lot, in which case he's not helping himself. Shows her something on his phone, and then the CA is like, no, we don't have it. Oh, it's, it's from last year. I mean, that is a nasty comment. That's from last year, that's last season. I think I learned from those mistakes as well when I was in Paris. Like, don't tell them and don't show them something on the phone. I think it should be like, can you show me what wallets you have? I think that's a better way. And then once like they're showing you wallets, maybe you could be like, oh, I like this one. By the way, I have this one that I liked. I think it's from last year. Can I show you a picture? I think that's a better way and probably get a better reaction. And you never know, they might even have had it in the back. She just didn't want to be bothered to go and look for it for him. So he made a lot of cardinal rules in this. He broke a lot of the cardinal rules of shopping at these luxury brands here. And then here, when the CA is like being rude to him, saying whatever's in the showcase is what they have, and being pushy and ask me if I want to buy one. Again, what I said before in my previous video, buy the items that they have in the boutique. That is what you should be doing. Picking out items that they have in the store. Some of you were like telling me, well, that's not the case for me. I can order things and that's fine. I think, understand that every situation is different for every brand, but generally speaking, unless you're someone who spends a lot, they don't really like ordering things in. For any house, it doesn't matter the brand, Chanel, Big H, Louis Vuitton, Givenchy, etc. They really don't like ordering things. They want you to buy what's there because they want to sell the inventory that they have in the store. So if they didn't have it, she's like, oh God, she can't sell something that she has basically in the store at the time. So again, this person didn't deserve to be treated that way. The person wasn't treated well, but these are kind of like the signs of the times that we live in today when it pertains to luxury shopping in 2022 and moving forward in 2023. There are a lot of like unwritten rules. I think generally speaking, at any house, unless you spend a lot of money, ordering things is just a headache for the CA, because they're not selling their inventory. They have to order items from another boutique's inventory that isn't theirs. So it's just something to be aware about. I'd love to know what you guys think about that one. This is the Louis Vuitton boutique, the Ala Moana boutique in Hawaii. My wife and sister went to the Ala Moana boutique. They were looking for scarves and treated really badly. The staff was condescending and rude. My wife and sister just finished volunteering and were not really dressed as they normally would be. They were asked if they could afford it. Oh my God. I've spent thousands of dollars at the store, and for them to be treated this way isn't appropriate. They named the essay. I don't want to say the essay's name. Essay's name and other stuff really needs to be trained properly. I've said this before and I will say it again. If you watched the Beauty and the Beast, the Disney version, the original cartoon, remember when the prince, when the sorceress is like disguised as like this old woman begging, and she has the rose, and the prince, and she asks for shelter, and the prince says no, and then she curses the prince and everyone in there, turns them into household, items. Obviously that's from Beauty and the Beast. I'm sure you've all seen it. If you haven't, I just wanted to quickly summarize it. I always like thinking of that scene in Beauty and the Beast, because that to me I think is a summary of luxury shopping today, except the brands are the prince and the brand is also the sorceress dressed up as a beggar basically. And I feel like these brands have created this like begging culture around luxury shopping. These people entered, okay, as he said, his wife and his sister, and they weren't dressed, you know, for the occasion, and they were treated really badly, and they asked if, you know, they could afford it. It's very much a Beauty and the Beast kind of vibe, honey. Like, you know, oh God, this person's here. No, get them away from me. They're not allowed shelter here. I feel like that's just a sign of the times, you know, again, you know, even in Pretty Woman, you know, big mistake, big mistake. I feel like those things are just really common right now because, you know, on the one hand, I empathize with the essay because I feel like, you know, I don't know, I feel like particularly with the fashion houses, they're fashion houses. So they kind of expect you to look like a fashion girl when you enter there. But then at the same time, people are tired, people are busy, and people like to be comfortable when they're shopping. But I do think when you dress really nicely, you are just treated better in these stores. I guess the only exception to this would be if you're just shopping with your regular like CA. But let me tell you something. Those of you who shop with your regular CA, go to Paris or the boutiques in London, honey. Go to any of the boutiques in Paris or London and dress super casually, and you'll see how quickly you'll be dropped like a hot potato, honey. Okay, they'll be like, ah, let me stop you right there. We are not touching this person. Can you afford it? It's really really crazy to be asked if you can afford it. Oh my God, that is absolutely bang out of order. I do not agree with that, but again, it's just the sign of the times, you know, that we live in today. What do you think about that one? I think it's absolutely outrageous to ask them, you know, if they can afford it. I think, yeah, that is just not good. The last one, this is one of the this is, of course, your favorite boutique for Big H in the US. It is the Palo Alto boutique. Anytime I film these dragging videos, I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what's going on in the Palo Alto Google reviews page, because I know there'll be someone there having a moan and whinging and complaining, and it never disappoints. This is very recent. It's from 1 week ago. The person says, clearly they do sell bags in here. I know there's a quota or ratio. I was simply asking if there's a picotin. Wasn't expecting that there was one, but the essay said we don't sell bags in this store. And then I asked for some more basic bags, not Birkin Kelly or Constance. She said no, there are no bags in the store. I'm willing to, and then the person said, I'm willing to buy other stuff or join a wait list, but her attitude is like, we only sell non-bag items. But I saw so many people getting bags in the store, therefore there's lying. Okay, so you know what time it is. I think, first of all, another thing, like, let's talk about Big H. With the exception of the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland, wish lists and wait lists do not really exist. I feel like when the essay says that, it's a Big H Hermes Glyphics test. It's a test to see if you're ready to purchase items. The only countries where it exists is the UK and Ireland. That's it, really, where they have like a wait list and you just wait your turn. And maybe you don't have to really pick up any other items, but for a fact in America that does not exist. It is about loyalty, and we all know what loyalty is, honey. We've talked about it many times on this channel. Leopards show loyalty, lambs don't. It's that simple. You have to go there and show loyalty. Now this person, I think, was maybe missing out some of the Hermes Glyphics, because the essay says we don't have any bags. Person asked for a picotin, so maybe they hadn't shown loyalty. SA didn't want to offer one. Then I asked for more basic ones, not BKC. She says, no, there are no bags in the store. I'm willing to buy stuff or join a wait list, but her attitude is like, we only sell non-bag items. That's Hermes Glyphics, honey, for you need to go and start picking out items and, showing loyalty, and then we can go from there. We can go from there. And I feel like that is a huge part of the really competitive, Hermes shopping situation at the moment worldwide. It's so competitive, and everyone is trying to buy these handbags and score these items. So I think, a few years ago, yeah, you probably could walk into a Big H boutique cold and be like, hello, I'd like to buy a Birkin or Kelly, probably would give you a Kelly 32 or a Birkin 35. Definitely during the pandemic, that was happening. We saw it on social media. But the pandemic was like 2 years ago now. You know, things have calmed down. Some of you, you know, have been telling me like, oh, like worldwide the economy is not doing well. Does this mean Big H will offer more? No, in fact, I think it's actually the other way around. Big H and Chanel, frankly, and even Louis Vuitton, they can afford to just sit and wait for things to improve. Has anyone seen that film, War of the Worlds, with Tom Cruise? It's one of the best like alien invasion films ever. It's based on the novel by H.G. Wells. And they're like these tripods that invade the planet and are trying to destroy the human race. And obviously Tom Cruise has to save the world. Amazing. It's a great film. And literally an alien invasion could happen. Okay, we'd all be running around like in the film with Tom Cruise trying to like save ourselves. Big H and Chanel will be in a bunker somewhere chilling, waiting for the alien invasion to end. That's how successful they are. They can afford to ride out the tough times and not really have to offer bags or really change their business strategy. I heard at the moment that even in Paris right now, like as of December, they're not really offering bags at the moment. They're not offering walk-ins. They don't care, boo-boo. They do not care. They are willing to sit it out and wait for things to improve. I think that, like I said, during the panoramic, there was this feeling like, oh my God, the luxury industry is going to collapse. This is an act of God. This is, you know, a bubonic plague, act of God, force majeure, like it's the end of the world. And then they were offering them, and then they're like, well, no, it's not actually, and things are gonna be fine, and we shouldn't have offered all of these panoramic handbags, because now they get a lot of people coming to the store who've seen a really famous influencer, you know, scoring, and then think, oh, okay, well, I want to, you know, go do the same thing. So I wanted to just kind of mention that, you know, because I think it's relevant to note that things, I think definitely a brand like Big H specifically can afford to ride out the quieter times. They can ride it out. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be maybe a little bit easier, but you're still going to be showing loyalty, particularly in the very competitive countries. So the US, Canada, China, Japan, the boutique in Taipei and Taiwan, Singapore, the boutiques in Hong Kong, and the boutiques in Thailand, and of course Vietnam. Those are incredibly competitive. All of the stores in Australia are incredibly competitive. They're still going to be really, really competitive, even if there is like a worldwide like belt tightening, because the person who shops at Big H is still going to be just milling around picking up items anyway. Even people who maybe might be like, okay, well, I don't really want to shop at Big H for like maybe 2 or 3 months, you'll still be popping in and buying smaller items. You'll still be kind of lurking around, and there'll be other people as well who will continue to shop there. So the person saying like, the essay telling the person in the dragging story like, oh, we don't have any bags, we don't have any bags. Of course they have bags, we know that, and we know that's a fact. What the essay is saying here by saying, we only sell non-bag items. The essay is saying in Hermes Glyphics, start showing loyalty. Do not come up in here commanding people, okay, like you're an alien invader in here, honey, asking for handbags and commanding me to offer you one. That is not going to really create that kind of warmth needed to start the process to churn bag offers. I think at a really competitive store like this, like I said, they can afford to lose that person. I know that's really, really harsh, but they can, you know? So I think that the situation with Big H, like I said, particularly for those of you in America, even if times are quiet, Big H is so successful, they can ride out the tough times. Frank, there's certain brands that are less vulnerable to maybe these like worldwide like economic you know, stresses. That's not to say that things aren't quiet. Things are quiet now. They are. There's no question. Like I said it in my previous video, like I'm getting so many emails every day, like buy this, buy this, buy this, discount code here, discount code there. And I have a bunch of parcels that I'm waiting to come through, so I'm super excited about that. But yeah, things are quiet, but that does not mean that it's necessarily going to be any easier. They still don't have to offer it to you. They can use this time when it's quiet to stockpile bag offers and to stockpile and to manufacture more and to just sit on their stock and wait for things to improve. So I don't agree with the way the poster was treated at the boutique, but I'm not surprised. That store is competitive. There are a lot of tough stories coming out of that boutique. If you read the Google reviews page or the Yelp page or the PA boutique for Big H, I mean, it is a tough store with a lot of competition. There are a lot of people in there competing for bag offers. So, you know, trying to walk in and get a picotin as a walk-in is probably unrealistic. It's not going to happen because it's such a competitive location. So I think that those are things which are worth noting. Just before I head out, I wanted to tell you something which I thought was relevant for those of you who are shopping at Big H and trying to build your profile. Something which you should be aware of are two things. Number one, the men's watches that have their own in-house movements, I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for BAIT for 2023. There are a bunch of men's watches. Just go on the website and look through the ones that you like. I feel like with the men's watches, it's just everyone's personal taste. I personally like this one. It's called the Carré H watch. I love this. I think this is really nice for men. This would look nice on your husband, your boyfriend. You could gift one to your dad. Get creative and make things happen. I think that these watches that have the in-house Big H movement, so basically for a lot, I think pretty much all of the men's watches, but for a lot of the men's watches, they have their own in-house movements that Big H themselves have made. It's not like with the women's watches. Most of the women's watches are just quartz. They're just like normal quartz movement watches. But on the men's side, a lot of them have their own in-house movements. So that's just a technical way of saying that the way the watch itself moves and works to tell the time is unique to Big H, and it's an in-house movement that they have created. I think that those watches for men are going to be absolutely massive in 2023. And we've talked about other categories like high jewelry and furniture and exotic SLGs and stuff. But I wanted to just quickly mention that because I think it's going to be huge. I know you're all going to be like, no, but my husband, my boyfriend doesn't like them. Let me stop you right there, okay? No one cares. Go buy them something beautiful and go get yourself a beautiful bag offer, okay? I think it's just better to be a pragmatic Big H shopper. I think pragmatic Big H shoppers are the people who are succeeding at this game. Be pragmatic. Honestly, the men's watches from Big H are quite well priced. They're not like excessively expensive. Like the women's watches are really pricey, but the men's watches are not particularly expensive relative to other men's watches from other fashion houses. Louis Vuitton's watches look really good to me, and that's because obviously I love the monogram symbols, but they are pricey. The tambour line is really, really pricey. So it's worth checking out the Big H men's watches with the in-house movement. So when you're on the website, you need to make sure you read the details so you can read the movement. I don't know all their movements off by heart. There's some of them have like a self-winding mechanical movement. Others don't. Others have these other fancy names. Big H are taking their watches for men very seriously, honey. Big H just put her ponytail up here when it pertains to the men's watches. She's not playing with you, okay? So I think that that is a great place to go and build your profile for 2023, especially in light of the fact that things are kind of quiet right now worldwide. I think it's a great way to make yourself stand out at the boutique for those of you who shop locally. I think if you shop in Paris, it's another fantastic BAIT option. Another thing which I think would work and looks really good on the profile is like doing a special order for watches as well. I think men's or women's is fine. However, I would not do a special order in Paris. Some of you are asking me like, should you do special orders for like fine jewelry and watches in Paris? Unless you have a really big profile history and purchase history there, I personally wouldn't. If I had a big purchase history there and I had an SA who has delivered for me and delivered BKC offers, then I think it's fine. I personally wouldn't, because as you know with Big H, it only counts once you have it in your hand. It will take ages for them to make it for you as well, because you know how Big H's SOs, like for other things, take ages. Forget the handbags, the SOs for other things, and even their furniture, people have been waiting for such a long time. You can wait up to a year. So I think you need to be careful with things like that for Paris, but definitely for your local store, it's a really, really good idea. And then finally, their high jewelry watches. You can just go on the website and have a look at your own time. I think on the American website, they're called exceptional timepieces, but essentially they are high jewelry watches. I think they're meant to compete with Cartier and Van Cleef and Arpels jewelry watches in terms of pricing. They're priced the same way, basically. They're incredibly expensive, but obviously you would be able to get a phenomenal offer as well. So I just wanted to quickly mention those, just for people who are building their profiles. But yeah, so I hope that this information was helpful. channel. I really hope that you liked it. Please make sure that you are fully subscribed and you stick with me. I'm super excited to be going on my trips, and I literally just got confirmation because I got my passport back, that I got my visa, so it's game on, honey. So you'll know when I'm there. I don't know exactly when we're flying, but now I have my passport, I can start making travel arrangements. So you'll know when I'm there, because that's how I do my things. Like once I'm there, I'll post a video to be like, hey, I'm here, guys. So I just wanted to quickly mention like the bait things that are worth looking at. I know some of you are like, oh, well, I don't really want to show a ton of loyalty. You know, it's up to you. You can go do what you want. I think that the best approach is just the pragmatic approach. That seems to be the one that works. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in my next video.